Hello everyone, Ray here. The HTC U Ultra and the Pixel XL are not necessarily competing with each other. The size. However, the U Ultra does pack a fantastic camera module, which is technically even more advanced than the one on the Pixel XL. Interesting, so which is the real king in smartphone photography? Let's have a look. Before we compare the image quality in depth, let me wrap the specs up for you folks. The HTC U Ultra packs a 12 megapixels camera with a massive 1/2.3-inch sensor, which means each pixel is measured at 1.55 micron, with an f1.8 aperture, optical image stabilization, face detection autofocus together with laser autofocus. It's actually one of the best camera modules used on any smartphone. The Pixel, in contrast, packs a Sony IMX378 sensor. With the same 12 megapixels, the same sized 1/2.3-inch sensor results in the same 1.55 micron pixel size. It's also backed with laser autofocus, but unfortunately it lacks optical image stabilization, while the aperture is also slightly narrower at f2.0. So features-wise, gestures including double pressing the power button from the camera, using the volume rocker as the shutter key are more or less the same. The camera app though, on the U Ultra will have a whole lot more modes and features, including Zoe Camera. It basically captures videos instead of just still images and gives the flexibility to join the footages together. And there we have hyperlapse, slow motion, panorama for selfie, and the feature to let everyone know you are taking a selfie, selfie flash. You can also shoot with whatever the settings you want via manual mode. The camera app on the Pixel in the meantime has a totally different approach. The minimalist, easy to use, user-friendly logic also mean you will get literally no manual control over the camera at all. Thankfully, we still have the magnificent slow motion mode on this guy. Also, the lens blur mode, which has been introduced back in the Nexus 5 era, but after years and years of evolution, now it captures comparable bokeh effect to like the Huawei Mate 9 or the iPhone 7 Plus. Alright, long story short, let's compare the image quality side by side. Under broad daylight, not only do they give similar level of sharpness and details, but also saturation and vibrancy. The white balance would be the major difference. Look at those details. The statue looks identical on both the shots. They even captured the tourist far on the background with the same amount of details. The image quality on this particular shot is neck in neck. The second one we have here, again, not much a difference. Yep, the white balance is slightly warmer with a light red tint on the U Ultra, but the flowers simply pop a little bit more on the U Ultra. The Pixel, in contrast, captured this really gorgeous scene with a marginally higher contrast ratio. On the far left upper corner though, the Pixel suffered from some minor distortion, but overall, the difference is marginal. This particular shot, however, the greenish tint on the Pixel failed to bring the flowers to life, like the U Ultra did. The amount of details they captured, though, are indeed identical, but the white balance on the U Ultra is far more pleasing to the eyes. The U Ultra also tends to favor the shadows a little bit more than the Pixel. The overall brighter approach helped it stand out. The image taken with the U Ultra simply pops. When it comes to scenes with high dynamic range, the difference becomes more noticeable, despite the presence of auto HDR on both of them. In terms of sharpness and details, they performed nearly the same, but on the shadows, the U Ultra tends to clean up all the digital noise, producing a much smoother image. But as I said, with adequate light sources, it also achieved the same amount of details and sharpness the Pixel achieved. The as little as possible post effect on the Pixel, however, resulted in a much noisier image. Back to the dynamic range though, the anti-atmosphere, the sunset looks much more engaging on the image captured by the Pixel XL, with a clearer separation between the sun and the clouds. Here we have another shot. Again, the Pixel captured a slightly wider dynamic range, while due to the more aggressive noise reduction, the shot taken with the U Ultra misses all the details on the grass. With clearer separation between each layer of the clouds, higher color saturation, and more details on the shadows, the Pixel XL is still the king in dynamic range. The U Ultra is not far behind though. Low light performance probably the reason for all of you now still watching this video, and yes, the dramatic difference in the approach to low light photography is definitely worth your time spent. The two images here look more or less the same at the first glance, but once we zoom into those small details, well, it's still the same. But wait, if we check out the shadows, we'll find the image taken with the U Ultra is much smoother, with literally no digital noise at all, while on the Pixel, all those noise are left there. It does look grainy, but it also lifts the sharpness. Also, the artifact on the U Ultra cleaned up some of the architectural design. Inside the tube station, with complex light sources, the U Ultra tried to attract our eyeballs with higher color saturation. It favored red and yellow way more than the Pixel did, with slightly high contrast, and again much more aggressive noise reduction. However, in this particular shot, the U Ultra managed to keep all the details. For this shot, the U Ultra did outperform the Pixel, but marginally. Overall, the U Ultra takes cleaner and smoother images, which is great for casual sharing on social media platforms. But the Pixel captures way more details than any other phones can capture. Back to outdoor low-light scenes. Starting from this shot, we'll compare the camera settings used automatically altogether. With the aid of optical image stabilization, the U Ultra has a tendency of extending the exposure time in order to keep the ISO level as low as possible. But you know, we really have to give Google some applause. Even though the U Ultra gives a marginally brighter image overall, the details on a shot taken with the Pixel XLs simply blow me away. Another one, this time the U Ultra holds up really well, while the Pixel slightly overexposed the highlights. Despite we haven't gained any extra details this time around, the digital noise are left untouched on the Pixel. Still, we can't conclude which is the clear winner up to this point. Finally, we've come to extreme low-light environment, which is where the U Ultra shines. On the Pixel, the ISO jumped over 1000 right away, while on the U Ultra backed with optical image stabilization, also the wider f1.8 aperture. It captured the stairs with much more details, with less noise, while kept the ISO at a respectable 640. The details on the highlights though are more or less the same, but the clouds, the stairs, the U Ultra sometimes captures the night, even brighter than our eyes can see. Brilliant. This time around, the U Ultra extended the exposure time to 1/2 seconds, half a second even in auto mode, compared to the Pixel 1/15 second, with ISO over 4000. Again, Google did a really great job in minimizing the digital noise while maintaining respectable sharpness even in extreme lighting environment like this. The U Ultra in the meantime continues to deliver a noise-free, smooth and clean image even in the most challenging scenario. You might find the image taken with the Pixel looks a little bit sharper, but all the digital noise on the background, especially the clouds and the sky, not the ideal image that we want. Again, the U Ultra extended the exposure time to an impressive 1/2 seconds, while the Pixel kept boosting the ISO to over 4000. The first thing you might have noticed could be those noise on the umbrella. Interesting to see how the U Ultra managed to stay away from any digital noise at all in all situations. While zooming into those small details, thanks to optical image stabilization, the wider aperture and the longer exposure time, the U Ultra has again edged out the Pixel. Time to wrap the things up. Under broad daylight, expect similar image quality across the two phones. The white balance would be the major difference. Dynamic range, the Pixel has once again claimed the crown without a doubt. Low light with adequate light sources, the U Ultra shoots clean and noise-free, smooth images, while the Pixel gives significantly more details, but with all the digital noise left untouched. Extreme low-light photography though, the U Ultra has made a good use of optical image stabilization, extending the shutter speed up to like 1/2 seconds, which allows much lower ISO settings even in the most challenging case. With a larger f1.8 aperture, it also lets more light passes through the lens, and produces incredibly smooth images in all situations. So that's it for today. Hope you all enjoyed watching this video. Like it if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned for the comparison video between the HTC U Ultra and the Huawei Mate 9. See you next time.